Hey, everybody, welcome to another Credit Chats. This is LeBaron, your host, and I have with me LaShonda Johnson, who is approaching her 16th year as a licensed financial professional and certified financial educator, property and casualty agent and insurance agency owner and broker, which is a mouthful. She does a lot of stuff. And her agency, Securum Insurance Solutions Incorporated, is a full service agency providing industry leading products to help their clients build wealth and protect their assets. Welcome, LaShonda.
Hey! Thank you for
Thank you
having
for
me.
thank you for coming on. Thank you for accepting the invite. And I know we want to get right into this, so I'm gonna just go ahead and dive right in. What inspired you to become a financial educator and start your journey in the financial industry?
I left corporate America after about 16 years,
Right.
started a business in 2002, and I was a capital medical equipment distributor. Go
Okay.
figure. I saw some close friends doing it. I wanted to jump in, dive in. I wanted to own my own business, and I felt like I could successfully do that. And I did for 10 years. Halfway in, a good friend of mine asked me, how was I going to prepare and save for my retirement
Hmm.
now that I'm the company? And I really didn't even think about that.
You're like, what
I didn't
retirement?
even I didn't even really think about it because I started saving in 401k when I was 19,
Right.
and I took all of that money and started my own business, and I also
Hmm.
put away some reserves for we'll get into that in this conversation, but I really didn't think about retirement in that fashion. And so then eventually I was like, I don't know. I was saying to myself, what's she asking me this for? I don't know. And my response was the equity in my home. That was the only thing I could think to answer that question.
Yeah.
And it haunted me from the moment that I said that all the way
Hmm.
into the night. And I was like, girl, you better figure out how you're going to retire.
We got to do something.
And man, I started doing all kinds of research, reading things, buying books. And I was like, I need to figure this out. And that led me into the industry once I was able to answer those questions for myself. I know a ton of people who have these same questions, and I want to be able to help them to answer these questions too. That's how I got in the industry. So
Hmm.
I exited the capital medical equipment distribution industry and entered into this industry after
Okay.
about being in that
Yeah.
industry for about 10 years, yeah.
Nice. Yeah, and it sounds like a lot of the parallels, and I talk about this with other entrepreneurs. A lot of the parallels that happen with entrepreneurs is a problem that they had to solve for themselves, and then they get into it solving it for somebody else. Is okay. Well,
Absolutely,
now I know this
absolutely.
information. What am I going to do with it? And it turns into being a passion and a calling that you need to help other people with. Thank
Mhm.
you for getting into that because I know there's a lot of people that you've helped. And just by us talking, because we met on the blocks being on season 17, and we pretty much connected. Like we have some techie stuff that we
Yes,
can forth.
yes,
Both of us like gadgets, and we started talking about our tech gadgets. And then you told me about some of the stuff you do, and I told you about some of the stuff I do. And you were like, we need to get together. We need to talk.
absolutely,
So this is
absolutely.
us talking, and
Which is
there was
good,
one
I'm
thing.
so glad to be talking to you. So,
Yeah, yeah,
I've watched you since leaving the filming of season 17, The Blocks,
right.
and I'm always excited to see what you have going on because you are I mean, just phenomenal. You're doing always doing something innovative. And
Mhm.
so it's always, I just have to have a conversation with you. I've got to learn what you know. And
Yeah,
so this is really awesome to finally be a guest on your podcast.
right.
I'm
And thank you for just noticing some of the stuff that I do because it's hard when you're the one doing the stuff. There's rarely people that'll come to you and say, "Okay, slow down. I got to tell you, I see what you're doing. You're doing some stuff here," and I'm going so fast that sometimes I don't hear it. Thank you for noticing it, and I know you know what's going on with this thing right here.
absolutely. I love that. I love that. Really love that. And I'm sure we'll get into a conversation about that
Yeah.
too. But our industries are parallel. I'm working with finances, you're working in the credit space, and those two definitely cross paths.
Right.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
And we got into a little bit of it when you started talking about like how you started your business when you took out your 401k to start your business. But give us a little more of that insight, the psyche of what you had to do to manage your finances to be able to say, okay, I'm at a place where I want to be an entrepreneur and then I can start this business because there are a lot of people out here who want to be entrepreneurs. They're entrepreneurs and they don't understand like some of the loneliness that comes
Oh
along with
gosh.
being an entrepreneur.
I'm so glad that you brought that up because it is a beast being an entrepreneur. Let me just say that. My dad was a business owner
Hmm.
and he owned a business for the entirety of my life
Right.
until he passed. And I think it's in my blood and I embrace it because I did have the pleasure of having some really good corporate positions, but I've
Hmm.
always wondered, I want to be out there. I want to be doing my own thing. I want to be running my own business. And
Yeah.
when I finally did it, I was like, wow. So the first thing when you're talking about being an entrepreneur, it's how are you going to fund that? It's very scary because how am I going to pay for it? And
Right.
most people, we've known the technical term for it now, bootstrapping. We're taking our own personal funds to start a venture that may or may not work.
Right.
And so for me, I'd saved for a long time, but I was willing to take a bet on myself. And one, because it was scary, but I was filled with faith. I have a very strong relationship with God,
There you go.
and I felt like I know that God is not going to keep putting this on my heart to do if He's not going to provide a way for me to do it.
Right.
And so I prayed a lot about how to actually make it happen. Ironically, I wanted to leave this company because the company, I saw it signs on the board, signs everywhere,
Yeah.
that it was going to be an acquisition going to take place. And I kept
Yeah.
telling people that because I've been a part of other organizations that happened. And I'm like, they're going to sell, they're going to sell. So it was just a blessing that they actually did because became 100% vested and I had already been saving from previous companies. So I was like, this would be the perfect time to make my exit. They did not want me to resign. They wanted me to move to Atlanta. I
Yeah.
wasn't willing to move to Atlanta. So I did put in my resignation. A couple of people laughed at me, told me I would be back. And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not coming back. And I took the money, I rolled it over to an account, I took out what I needed to actually get started, and that
Right.
means getting incorporated. Back then, this was back in early 2000s, so I went to a corporate attorney and did all of my documents. I was a C corporation. That cost money. Then I
Hmm.
realized, shoot, I need this, I need a logo, I need this, I need that. So I kept dipping in, dipping in, dipping in. And I did have at least after everything to just get myself up and running. And I had to travel 3 days a week. So I had to have a travel reserve.
Right.
So the process of funding entrepreneurship needs
Mm.
to be done with a lot of attention. And if you don't have a reserve, then that's something you need to work on. You really need to have a reserve because
Yeah.
as you're building the business, you may not have cash flow,
Right.
but your bills don't stop. Your
Exactly.
obligations don't stop. At the time that I started my first business, I was married. I could leverage my husband and his salary at the time. 2 years after being into that business, I was divorced.
Right.
So it was a lot of stuff going on, a lot of stuff going on. But I refused to get rid of my business. I was like,
Right.
I took this leap of faith. I'm staying the course. But it took a lot of personal planning. I'm a person, even as I sit here and talk to you, I've got notebooks and tablets and stuff
Yeah.
all around me. So I wrote out plans, I wrote out what it would cost, I wrote out, and then it's just a matter of following the plan. But I had a
Yeah.
plan. I had a plan.
And
And then I
that's that
put the work in behind it.
and that's paramount because I know there's a lot of people that take a leap of faith and don't count the cost. And even the Bible says that
You
who's gonna
have
build
to
a house
count
and
the
not count
cost.
the cost. Like you have to understand that there's two sides of this. There's the faith side of it, which says, I can't worry about this. God's gonna take care of me. But there's also the manager side of this that says, if when God gives me this, how am I going to manage that? So you need both of those to be a good manager. And there's plenty of verses in the Bible that talk about managing
Tons.
funds. And they talk the Bible just is just riddled with all kinds of parables and things that have to do with finances.
And it's
And
I not to interrupt you, but I like that you said that because I had a lot of them posted in my workplace to remind me of the spiritual aspect
Right.
of being an
Right.
entrepreneur. A lot of things that resonated with me were multiplying my talents. And
Hmm.
at the time, I was talking about my internal talents
Right.
to work, not the money talent, but the actual talents God's blessed me with. And then
Hmm.
also being able to put in the work. I depended on God, but I worked like it depended on me.
That's another thing, like, when you're talking about mindset, we have to have that mindset, and I was talking about just both sides of it. When your mindset is one that there's no other solution than for me to succeed, then you start framing things differently. Because, like, when you were saying before, there were times where you're like, "Okay, maybe this is gonna work, maybe it isn't." But for us as entrepreneurs, you have to get into the mindset of, "There's no other
I
alternative.
don't
This
have
is
a
gonna
cho I
work.
don't have a my thing was I don't have a choice.
This is
I've
gonna
gotta
work."
make this work. I've gotta make this work, and I'm a self-starter, self-motivator,
Right.
and I'm very optimistic. I err on the side of being too optimistic, and I just felt like it was gonna work, and I had so many things against me because people were like, "You're a corporate person, you're
Right.
not a salesperson. Oh, you're a woman, you're a minority, this, that, and the other." And I was like, "You know what, you guys, I'm not listening to that.
Yeah.
I'm going to master my craft. And then if I master my craft, then people will listen to you when you have something to say that pertains to them and you know what you're talking about." So I just didn't want to succumb to the negativity. And there were days as being an entrepreneur, you feel like, woo, I don't know what the
These are
heck I just did.
there are hours where I'm like, "Woo."
What did I
Multiple
just
times during the day.
do? But ain't no turning back. Ain't no turning back. For me, it was
Eh,
that. It was like, okay, I did pray. I said, God, if it doesn't work in 6 months, then make it crystal clear that I need to do something else. And here I am in 2025. I started in 2000, on the brink of 2002. Here it is,
wow.
2025. I'm still an entrepreneur with its ups and downs and jigged lines and all that with it. But I just accredit God's grace to it and him being able to put things on my mind and heart to do and lead me
Mhm.
in ways that I myself could not do, and giving me the strength, the wisdom, clarity, willpower, all of those things I credit to him.
And just like you were saying, there's a lot of people that look at our paths and don't understand it because they're not going to. It's like, "I don't even understand it, so I know you ain't going to." But
You're not gonna get it, but
the call is so strong, and it's like the passion and the call is so strong. Is if I'm not doing this, I there's nothing else that I need to be doing if I'm not doing this. And
exactly.
I heard somebody say that when you step out on faith, God's not going to mismanage your life. But we have to get into we have to get into the mindset of looking at the track record that God has never failed us, he's never let us down, all of that stuff, and then applying it to whatever situation we have now. But again, my situation was a little bit different because I wanted to have the retirement funds and all of that stuff to start the business, but I got FIRED, which I call freed. I know it's misspelled, but
No, no, I get you. I get you. I get you.
so I got
Yeah.
freed, and then God was like, "You're not going back to work. You're going to do what I told you to do now." Even though I would have liked to have a different path of it, I took too long, and God made me.
He intervened. He did a positive intervention to put you in a direction that he felt like you need to be.
Right. And
And
when I went on the blocks, I was still on my 9 to 5. So,
yeah.
subsequently, it happened after that, and there's no place I'd rather be now. And I know you see there's stuff going on as far as, like, education is concerned when it comes to credit and the book and the podcast, and I'm doing some speaking engagements. But there was something you asked before we started. You said, "I need to give a class on some of the stuff that I'm doing," because I get into a I guess, and with ADHD, you can hyper focus on things and you can learn things really fast and then you can implement them and then you get bored with them. So you go on to do other things. But in the same instance, if you're a person that does a lot of things, then it comes easy. So for me, being some of the media things at my church and doing some audio stuff like being a musician. There's a lot of things that I'm technically inclined to do. And I was in IT for almost 15 years with the federal government. So both financial and IT. So I was in the audit department doing IT stuff. So it was like a marrying of the two things. But yeah, I'm definitely open to showing people. And somebody asked me about doing the behind the scenes of the credit chats, and I gave a little bit of that on my
Yeah, I saw that Maddie asked you that. I saw that post, and I'm like, we need some more behind the scenes of some more stuff, not just that, but and when I saw it, I was like, "Woo!" I was like, "Wow, that's a lot of technical stuff." I don't know that I would be able to manage all of that, but I feel like we're gifted in
Mhm.
different ways. Everybody's gifted in different ways, but the best gift is to leverage your gifts to help others.
Right,
And so then now we can help other people in areas that, especially in the entrepreneur space. That's
right,
what I
right,
loved about being on the blocks, is that everybody is an entrepreneur, everybody's learning, everybody has talents that they came there with, things that they probably were doing exceedingly well in and others that they were not. But once we keep the relationships open, we can help each other.
right.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that was really good for me being on the blocks. We there was an unspoken language that we don't have to bring you up to speed. We don't have to tell you about the things that we're doing. There was just a place that we could start from being all entrepreneurs that you
Exactly.
just don't have to explain.
You already know, you already know, I already know. I already know the struggle. I already know.
Yep. Yeah. So again, that was and for us being black entrepreneurs too, that was just another level of I already know.
That's
Like I
another
know.
tier. That's another tier of I already know. I know.
Yeah.
I already know.
Yep.
Yes.
So, in your 16 years of experience with being financial management, financial wealth, what are some of the biggest misconceptions people have about building wealth?
I think the biggest one is that it's just something that happens without, it just happens, and that you have to come into a big lump sum of money
Yeah,
to build wealth,
you got to be
or
rich.
you got to be rich to stay rich. Because that's a lot of things that people believe. Oh, I don't make enough money. I'm not going to ever be able to build wealth. Those are the big misconceptions. Building wealth is a journey. It doesn't take place overnight. Now, yeah, you could come into you can get an inheritance or something like
Right.
that, or you could win the lotto if you're one of the lucky billion of the billions of people that feel that way or what have you. But for the most part, LeBaron, we're financing life as we go.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but when I graduated high school and went on to do collegiate education or whatever, nobody handed me a check and said, "Here's this should take care of you for the rest of your life and you're good." Nobody gave me a check to do that, to
You
take
didn't
care
get
of
your
that.
check. I got mine.
I didn't get that. I
No,
didn't
I
get
didn't get
that.
one
You got
either.
that, hallelujah. But I didn't get that. And the majority of people did not get that.
Right.
So that means you've got to finance life as you go through working. And when we're working, we have to accommodate today and think about and put away
Hmm.
for tomorrow. So that's how you build wealth. And it's a journey. It is not something that happens just like that. But I know social media can make you believe that.
Yeah.
Social media can also make you believe that you can start your business today and tomorrow you can clock $1 million
Right.
and be good. There's
It's like
so
just
many
run the play.
misconceptions. Just yeah. What do you mean? What do you mean? You've been in business 6 months and you haven't made your first million? What's wrong with you? That's not true. That's not
Like
life.
neither did you.
Yeah. So that's not life. So
Right.
the first thing that I have to dispel with people is that is a myth. It is a process and it's
Right.
something you really need to think through. It's my second book, The Journey to Financial Freedom, Your Roadmap to Building Wealth. That I put my heart into that, and a lot of thought went into that because I thought about every single thing you need to do to
Hmm.
actually be on a journey to build wealth and
Yeah.
everything you need to do to actually build wealth. So that's the biggest misconception, is that you can't, and that you have to have all this money to build
Mhm.
wealth. and that people that work a job can't do it. It's all these I can'ts. I want people to know that's not true. It starts with a decision that
Yeah.
you want to do it, and
That's
then
mine.
discipline comes behind it, and getting the proper education, the proper guidance, the proper professional in your life to help you, and then knowing that I'm going to make some mistakes along the way,
Mhm.
but I can get back on the journey. If you are driving somewhere and GPS tells you to take this turn and you take another turn, what does it do? What does it say? Rerouting,
Recalculating. Yeah, rerouting.
rerouting, whatever. So the same thing with building wealth. And then finally, at some point, you reach your destination.
Mhm.
Same thing with building wealth.
Yep.
It's a
Well,
journey.
congratulations on the book
Thank
and
you.
the things you were saying about us financing it while we go, and we're learning as we go too. So the stuff that we learn when we start working and when we start financing, a lot of us don't get the benefit of learning from our parents' mistakes because this stuff was grown up stuff and we didn't get taught about it.
We weren't invited in the room with that conversation.
So
In
when we
fact, we
started
were,
doing it
yeah,
ourselves, then we had to figure it out. And people say FAFO. So F around and find out. That's what we had to do.
exactly. I want to be completely honest. I got into this industry bordering 40.
Hmm.
Okay. And so that's when I began to know what I knew. I did about a year, I want to say a year, maybe a year of self study, things, attending classes, and all of that. But for some reason, I couldn't connect the dots. And
Mm,
so not being able to connect the dots still left me with all, it left me with so, it just was so much ambiguity as far as how does this happen?
yeah.
And so and then I realized, man, if I'd have known what I know at 25,
Hmm.
26, or 19, or even 20. But you know how I rationalized that? And I said, you know what? God gave me the knowledge when He felt I was ready to receive
Yeah.
it.
Yep.
Because I don't really think if I'd
Yeah.
have gotten it at that age, I would have
Listened.
been able to receive it. I
Hmm.
don't think I did the right things with it. I don't know what, for whatever reason, God didn't let me have it then. He gave it to me at 40.
Yep.
And at 40, I was mature enough to act on it, do something about it, learn more, and then really make a commitment to help other people.
And I know at this point in my because I'm around that age too. Like I started this 2 years ago and I was 42. So yeah, so I started 2 years ago, 42, and then moving into and I did get a windfall of money before, and I messed it up, like squandered it, didn't do the stuff that I would have done. So it's not even about if God would have given me this information when I had it, and I just didn't listen. So at this point, when I have it, it was whatever, however many thousands of dollars lesson. That's how much it was because I know what to do with it now. And when I get blessed with it again, it's going to be what's already been
Whole
so
different
different
ball game. Yeah.
because it's coming incrementally and being able to leverage that. And then the stuff that you're talking about too, with the small habits, the building the habits every day to be able to do this stuff and not think about it coupled with what I teach when it comes to how to leverage the credit because I'm targeting high school and college. So if they never have to get on a path of trying to repair their credit and all they know about is leveraging it, so they build the habits to do the right things to even have enough credit to start themselves a business and somebody's going to trust them with $100,000 because their credit is 815, 820, whatever it is. They already have the stuff in place and they know how to use it now, and that's what I'm doing to get it to them early.
That's awesome. That's awesome because if we could get to the younger generation in their impressionable years and keep putting this information before them and prepare them, then yes, we can change generation after generation.
And our
Because
generations too, the stuff that we didn't learn.
absolutely. Because the younger generation are at the biggest advantage
Right.
because they have something that you and I don't have as much of, and that's time. Time and money. If you don't have a lot of money, you just need a lot of time. If you don't
Yep.
have if you have a lot of money, you don't need a lot of time because you have more money to work for you.
Yeah.
So younger people don't need a lot because they have time on their side. and they need to understand the value of that time.
Mhm. And only one of those 2 resources are recoverable, and money is the only one that's recoverable. Like, you
That's
can't get
right.
your time back.
Can't get time back.
So if
No.
they get
What's
in
the
the
cost?
race of them trading time for money like we did, like, that's what America wants you to believe is the way,
The answer and the way?
and it's not.
No.
The
No.
billionaires want you to believe that so you can keep working for them and not making your own dreams happen. But yeah, that's a whole nother podcast we could talk about. But what are some I'm sorry, how does having the right insurance play a role in financial security and and wealth protection?
Man, insurance is so critical
Mhm.
in being an entrepreneur, being an individual. Everybody needs insurance, okay? And I know people, the things I hear, I see a lot of stuff where people are like, the biggest scam you didn't know about is insurance.
Mm.
I don't know why people feel like that because I even had a physician at one point tell me that. And his wife did not work. So just stick with me on this.
Okay.
His wife didn't work. She was a stay at home mom. They had 3 children. He was a radiologist. I was meeting with him to talk about getting life insurance for himself and his family. Okay. I met with him at the hospital and it was very difficult to get him. So he said, just come here. I've got a break. I'm reading some charts. Just come here. So I went to the hospital, met with him, and of course, he's trained medically to read these charts, and he's
Right.
a radiologist or whatever he was. Yeah. And so he proceeds to tell me, "Oh, I'm doing this. I don't know why, because insurance is this, that, or the other." And I'm saying, "Let me ask you a question before we even continue. The charts that you're reading, the patients that you see, do you think they can actually afford to pay you for the time you spend to read these charts and the things that you're doing for to treat them?" And I said, he was like, "No." I said, "So who pays for that?" He
Mhm.
said, "Insurance." Okay. Insurance pays for that. So health insurance pays for that. We pay a premium, and in return, we're able to get services that we could not personally afford. And even if you could personally afford them, would you want to drain your wealth bucket to take care of that and then now have to be left with replenishing that wealth bucket?
Mhm.
Okay, you drive a car, somebody hits you, and they don't have insurance. Do you want to bear that expense or do you want the insurance to pay for it? You pay a premium so that if something happens, that takes care of you. And so I said, your wife is at home literally with your children. If, God forbid, you don't make it home and
Mhm.
something happens to you, can your wife come here and read these charts?
Right.
She cannot. Can your wife come and do what you do to bring in the income that you bring? She
No.
cannot. So, who will physically replace you? Nobody can physically replace you, but economically, what will replace you? Okay, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. Okay, yeah, I want you to understand. So let's stop bad mouthing insurance because this insurance policy that you're going to get is going to replace the economic value to your family when you're no longer here to provide it.
Right.
If your wife is not here, the insurance that you're going to get on her is going to replace the economic value that she brings to your family through the services that she provides to your home. Because if something happens to her, you can't do what she do and come here and read these charts. No, somebody else, you would have to pay somebody to do that. So insurance is paramount in everything we do, especially as a business owner. We have
Right.
liabilities. If something happens, if you have a storefront, somebody slips on your floor and they sue you, do you want to take that out of your bank account and satisfy that?
Nope.
You need insurance. You need insurance to protect your life, to protect your business, to protect your health, to protect your income in the event of disability. It is important. So, as it relates to being an entrepreneur, it's essential, it's necessary, it's a must. As it relates to being a personal person, it's a must. You have to
Right.
have it.
Exactly.
You have
And
to have it.
And I know there's a lot of back and forth that has to go with some of the insurance, because I know just dealing with some of the hurricane stuff that's been down here, there's been a lot of back and forth when you have to go with the insurance company, and I know there's different stories about that. But the balance is a lot of the people that had hurricane damage, what they can't afford to fix the house. The insurances that do pay for it and the ones that don't give them a hard time about it, it's paramount. So I
Is
mean, yeah.
insurance a business? It's a business. Okay. Of course, I'm a property and casualty agent and a broker as well. So when it comes to property and casualty insurance, a lot of us we just buy insurance. We don't even know what we're buying.
Mhm.
You've got to be educated. What does my policy pay for? What does it not pay for? Okay. And these limits of liability, what do they actually mean?
Right.
It says limits of liability. That means there's some liability on the limits. So you need to understand what that is. You need to understand what that means. You need to understand what it means if you have to file a claim. What are the procedures you go to? Ask these questions. Everybody, we're in a time right now that you just really need to be educating yourself about the insurances that you have. And insurance companies, it costs them to insure you. So
Mhm.
they have to pay a cost to insure you. So they're looking at, and especially for us in Texas, for you in Florida, these are coastal lines
Yeah.
states. So we're subject to natural disasters. Insurance companies are looking to definitely make sure that they reduce their risk exposure. A lot of things they were doing before they're not, because natural disasters are rampant right now. So it's just ask questions when you get into that policy before you sign on the dotted line. And remember, your policy is only good for 1 year. When you re up, you want to ask questions. Make sure it's something you didn't get in another policy. Make sure you get it over here. You need to understand what is the different types of policies. Should I be looking for replacement costs? Should I be looking for actual cash value? What is it that I actually have? Some people think they have one thing, they have another. What should I have? Educate yourself. And that's why I say we're a full service agency, because we provide that education. I've actually told some people I'm not going to insure you that way because it won't be the best for you. If you
Right.
have to file a claim, you're going to come for me because you're going to, I sold you this. I'm not going to sell you that just so you can have insurance. Let me explain to you what you need. It'll be up to you if you buy it.
Right.
So, yeah, we need to be more educated about the services that we're paying money for
Mhm.
and
And
what
and we'll
comes
put your
with it.
information up for people that wanna reach out to you, but she knows what she's talking about, so anybody that needs insurance for property casualty insurance, reach out to LaShonda. But what advice would you give somebody who wants to build wealth but doesn't know where to start?
I would give the advice for them to start with having a personal financial strategy. You need to come see me and you need to start with a strategy. So, a strategy is essential because it identifies your financial goals. You need to have short term, midterm, long term.
Right.
What are the goals that you need to hit within the first year, within the first 3 to 5 years? What are the goals that are going to take you 10 plus years to meet? What I like to use this example when it comes to long term goals, like retirement. Do you even know what you need to retire? What's your number? What is it
Mhm.
going to take for you to retire? So when you're a homeowner, when you went and bought a home or you were in the business of buying a home, it's very exciting. You go choose the house, you go choose this, you get to, if you're building from scratch, you get to pick your tile,
Yeah.
it's an exciting time. But you're not going to go into that commitment without knowing how much it costs because it has to be financed. And they give you 30 years to do it, right?
Right.
When it comes to your retirement, you need to dream just like you dream when you're going to go buy a house. Where do I want to go? Where do I want to live? What kind of retirement do I want to have? And then what is the biggest thing you need to know? What is it going to
What's
cost?
the gun cost?
What's the price tag? So you get pre-qualified for a home so you know how much you can afford to go buy. How much house can you afford to go buy? When it comes to retirement, you need to know how much is your retirement going to cost or what kind of retirement you're going to have and put a price tag on it so you'll know how much I have to, what I got to do to fund it. It has to be funded just like everything else. Wealth, what does that mean to you? it's relative. Some people, wealth means that I'm in good health. I can be on an acre of land and watch my grandkids run around. I've had people
Right.
say that to me. I've had people say, I just want to be wealthy enough to buy a convertible car
It's
and
relative.
everything else is paid. It's relative.
Mhm.
Define it and then put a price tag on it. And how much time do you have to save to?
Mhm.
So if you're going to retire LeBron at 60, Baron, I'm sorry. I
She
want you
loves
to
the
be
basketball
LeBron.
player.
I want you to be LeBron. LeBaron, if you want to retire at age 65, I'm just throwing out a number,
Mhm.
and you want to retire at $5,000 a month,
Mhm.
that's $60,000 a year, right?
Right.
So then you would need to know what is the average lifespan of me as a man. So right now, we're looking about 85 years old. So if you're going to retire at 85 and you're going to start at 65, what's the difference between 65 and 85?
20.
That's 20 years. If you need $60,000 a year to retire in retirement,
Mhm.
and you need that for 20 years, is what
Yeah.
you
Two.
what you need to know. That's 1.2. That's your number. Now, where are you today? How many years do I have to prepare financially to walk into retirement with the 1.2 I need? How much do I have to save with how much interest, how much time over this period of time so that I can meet that goal?
Right.
That's planning. So that's what they need to do. That's the first thing you need to go do is come to me and get a personal financial strategy so we can see what your goals are, we can document them, and we can start creating a strategic plan to meet them. That's the first thing you need to do.
There you
Because
go.
how are you gonna go somewhere when you go somewhere and you don't know where you're going? You put the address into GPS, correct?
Right.
And GPS takes you there. But if you don't have the address and you don't know where you're going, you're going to drive around aimlessly to try and find the location or rely on your best guess. So, do you want to rely on your best guess for retirement, for building wealth, for paying
Mm-mm.
off debt, for building an emergency fund, for sending your kids to college? Do you want
You
for
don't
having
even
a
wanna
monthly
rely on a
budget?
compass
Do
at
you
these
want to
in
rely on
these
your
days.
best guess? No, you need a strategy. You need
Yeah.
a plan.
You need
That's the
turn by
first thing you
turn.
need to do. That's the first
Yep.
thing you need to do. Absolutely.
Okay. How do you work with clients when you're talking about managing debt? And does this impact home ownership and real estate investment opportunities and stuff like that?
You know the answer to that question, but I'm gonna answer it.
I
It
do, but this is
does.
not for me.
It absolutely does. It absolutely does. And I know it's not for you, but I'm just saying we're each of us we're preaching to the choir when we're preaching
Yeah.
to ourselves, but the purpose of this is to speak to the masses.
Right.
It's a forum to educate the masses. It does. Your credit score impacts so many things. How much you pay for something. Let's talk
Mhm.
about how much you pay for something, how that dips into your disposable income, how much of your money you own. So if you're paying a high interest for something, that means the more you're paying a creditor, the less you get to retain of your own money. And a part to building wealth is being able to retain a portion of your money so that you can save for the things that are going to take place later. So if you get a lower interest rate, then you're able to retain a larger portion of your money. So yes, it matters when you're buying a home, a large purchase. The largest things you're going to pay for in your life is probably the largest purchases are going to probably be home,
Yeah, your
college,
house.
either for yourself or your kids, and your retirement. Those are the high dollar items that
Yeah.
most people are going to have to pay for. And so your credit will impact how much you pay for them, especially if you're leveraging credit to borrow and leverage someone else's money to pay for these things.
Mhm.
You want to do it at a lower interest rate, as low as possible.
And right below that is gonna be cars, and then when you have cars, you have insurance. So both of those are impacted
And your
with
credit impacts your
your credit.
insurance. People don't know that. A
Yep.
LexisNexis report is used to look at your overall discipline with money to determine
Yeah.
your car insurance rate.
Yep. Because 'cause you're more risky.
So it's your risk. So the insurance company wants to know how much do we need to charge them for their
Yep.
rate of insurance in case something happens. If they're higher risk, they're going to have to pay more because then
Right.
we're at a higher risk for having to pay claims. It affects so many things.
Absolutely. So, what are the biggest credit mistakes that keep people from building wealth?
I would say number one is not having good credit health.
Mhm.
And so I love that you wrote that book because what I say to people all the time, if you don't repair your character and how you deal with money, you're always going to be
Yeah.
repairing your credit. Deal with your character as far as your money first.
Yep.
And then you will not necessarily be in a situation where you're doing repair because your mindset, unless things happen, things have happened to me as being an entrepreneur where I've had to use credit, max out on credit, do this and that, but I have a strategy to take care of these things and a strategy to pay off things. So, what I'm saying to you guys is building wealth is your how you pay for things and how much money you spend in credit impacts how much disposable income because a percentage of your income you should own, right?
Mhm.
A percentage of your income you use to spend on your liabilities, and that includes everything, taking care of everything from food to your mortgage to your utilities to your car to your insurances, all of that. So, the more you're spending on those things, the less you're able to have to put away for your future.
Right.
And then it also minimizes how your lifestyle can be spent. So, yes, if you have good credit health, good discipline with money, then it's going to make your journey to building wealth much more successful.
And that was the underlying of writing the book anyway, because what I found was that there's a lot of people out here that do focus on an event of fixing my credit so I can buy a house, or fixing my credit so I'm not paying as much in whatever you're paying as much for. Or and then there's some people that are doing it to be scammers, which that's a whole nother conversation. But what I was finding was that there's a lot of people that were getting it fixed that were coming back because they don't understand what happened. They don't understand what the
You
person
happen.
did but with fixing fixing the credit.
You
But
happen.
yeah.
Your mentality did there was not a switch that was turned on because you'll have people say, worst case scenario, I'll just repair it again. Wrong answer. Wrong
Right.
answer. If we look at credit, really, credit, some people use credit as a long term loan. That's not really what credit was all about. That wasn't the reason credit was established. It was really established on a float basis.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
wasn't just flow until you get paid and you pay this off. It wasn't established for you to be able to carry that debt for decades and
Right.
decades at a time. But when they realized people will be willing to do when
Then
credit,
then
it
the
took
switch
off.
flipped on them. They was like, "Oh, we can
It,
make a lot of
we
money
can
on
make a
this."
ton of money because people will take forever to pay us back. We can charge astronomical interest rates. Come on now.
All we have to do is pay the
28%,
government off.
26%, 22% on
It's
a credit
insane.
card. It's
And
insane.
if you get into some of the reservations, you can get up to 600%.
Oh yeah, the Indian reservations where they're charging you insane amount because it's not regulated.
Those
Yeah.
casinos and giving loans on that, they can get up into the hundreds of percents.
And but it's there's all kinds of predatory lending out
Yeah,
here. And because you don't have good credit health, you have to resort to
yeah,
going to those predatory sources. So if you get get and keep good credit health, then you won't be caught up in these entanglements
right.
where it could that definitely will rob you of being able to build wealth. You
Mhm.
can't build wealth owing everybody. You can't, it's not
Yep.
possible because you don't even own your income.
Exactly,
You got to own your
exactly.
own income. You got to own a portion. So by the time you retire, you should be in your income producing years, it should be 70/30,
Mhm.
which means 70% of your income takes care of your responsibilities. And there's all kinds of different
And yeah,
percentages. Yeah, but I like 70/30. 30% of your income you own, 10% you can save, put away for your future, 10% you can give, 10% you can put away in an emergency fund. But over time, LeBaron, you want to walk into retirement owning 80% of your income and
mhm.
only having 20% of your income that goes into responsibilities. That's because you've spent your income producing years being responsible and disciplined.
And while the credit card companies, they might not be predatory lending in most of their practices, there are some predatory practices that they practice by going onto the college campuses and giving pieces of pizza and stickers
Definitely.
and T-shirts
Because
for credit
what do they
cards.
know? As a student,
They don't
your
know anything.
parents take care of you. So your parents will take care of that debt. But then when you get out of college and you get that nice job,
You already got them bad.
you and I have already linked up.
You already established
So
them habits, and now you got a
exactly.
relationship.
We've got a relationship and you and I are in this thing for life. I'm gonna give you some more credit so you can go furnish your apartment.
Yep.
I'm gonna do all this stuff,
Dangle the carrot.
dangle the carrot for years. And so it's just education that we need. So we as adults have to teach our kids.
Yeah.
And we have to teach our kids so they'll know these things so they can make smart decisions to have good credit health, manage their money properly, save, and not get caught up in these financial entanglements that can take you a lifetime to get out of. And while you're trying to fight to get out of it, it's robbing you of your ability to invest, create businesses, change your economic outlook, and also to be able to build any type of significant wealth and to build and form a legacy to pass down
Right.
to the next generation from you. It's essential that we get the education and we get the help.
But we also
And
have to educate the community of kids too, because it takes a village.
it takes
So
a village. And kids
for
need to
us,
start learning these things early. They
yeah,
do.
and we have the responsibility now to educate our younger generation. And whatever that means for you, like whatever it means, educate the younger generation on the things that you've learned so that you can reach back and help them to be at a place.
Absolutely.
And I mean, I know
Absolutely.
all of them aren't going to listen to you, but still,
You still have to
you got
talk.
to
You
try.
still have to talk. You still have to spread the message. And really, it's about leaving a legacy and teaching the next generation what to do with the legacy, and them teaching the next generation what to do with the legacy they're going to leave. So it
Mhm.
starts with one, and then if we do things right, we should be able to step on the shoulders of the next generations. The next
Yep.
generation should be able to step on the shoulders of the previous to keep it moving. We can do it if we want to, and if we're committed to it and we're dedicated to it.
Yep.
And we see it as a priority as well.
And that's the thing. Like we're making sure we're reaching back. But and I know we don't have much time left here, but let's get into what is a piece of advice that you would give to somebody who wants to be in the same space as you doing insurance that may not know where to start, or what's a piece of advice that you would give your younger self?
Well, the piece of advice that I would give to my younger self is to definitely follow my mind because when I first decided I wanted to do it, I was already in a successful business. So people tried to talk me out of it.
Mhm.
And they did successfully talk me out of it. I just put it to the side and I
They
prolonged
transferred their
it.
fears onto you.
Exactly. So don't let people transfer their fears onto you. Talk to somebody like myself who's been in the industry for 16 years and get a mentor to walk you through things and help you through things. And so you need a mentor. You
Mhm.
need a mentor who is knowledgeable, who's going to give you the raw, ugly truth, and also is going to show you how to celebrate small successes
Yeah.
and get wins.
And is not jealous.
Exactly. And you said a mouthful right there. Doesn't gatekeep and it's not jealous. And it's honest. So I've had the pleasure of being able to work with many aspiring financial professionals in throughout their early parts of their career. And that's actually one of the things about what I do that I'm most proud of is the training that I've been able to give to others, the mentorship that I've been able to give to others. And then of course being able to help because I see when I work with my clients, it's also a mentorship. I'm mentoring them on how to manage their money properly. So
Right.
I'm helping them in that regard as well.
Good, good. Where can people find you? What are your handles? And if they wanna reach out to you, where can they find you?
If you're watching this, just mention this. Just mention this podcast, and you'll be able to receive a complimentary personal financial strategy session. The
That
best way to reach me is it's a lot of ways, but I'm gonna say the first and best way is to call me.
mm,
Call me at 832-807-4639. 4200. That's 832-807-4200. You can follow me on Instagram. It's Miss LWJ CFED. MSLWJ I'm also on TikTok, if you still have the app. I'm LaShonda J. CFED. So LaShonda CFED. CFED just means Certified Financial Educator. I am on Facebook. I'm on Facebook as LaShonda Johnson, and I'm also there as Miss LWJ CFED. LWJ is just my initials. Securum is on Facebook, Securum Insurance Solutions. It's also on Instagram as Securum Solutions. So, yeah, we do full service. So, finances and insurance, whatever you need, we've got the full range of services. But of course, whatever you need, call me. You'll get me like that. If you don't get me like that, I promise I'll get back to you as soon as humanly possible. But call me 832-807-4200. But do follow me on Instagram and Facebook because
Drop
I'm
nuggets.
posting stuff
Yeah.
all the time.
Yep. Information is on the screen, so you guys hope you can see it on the screen. And
My websites are under construction for a good thing because if you go to Securum's website, it makes no mention of financial services. If
mm,
you go to my personal website, it makes no mention of property and casualty. So I'm doing a merger of the two.
okay.
And so it's going to be phenomenal when it comes up. I'm doing edits right now, but I can't wait to launch it. So you'll be able to see something fabulous there as well.
Yep. Reach out to LaShonda. She can help you. She can help you with your planning. She can help you with your GPS of your financial future. And this has been another great conversation that we've had with people that are experts in the industry. And hopefully, and she said you better you mentioned this podcast, so all of you that listen, you better know what the name is. I mean, by this time we're in season 2. You should know the name. So mention credit chats
I love it. I
when you
love it.
call
Credit
LaShonda.
chats. Just say credit chats. I saw you on credit chats, and you'll be able to get your personal financial strategy session complimentary.
You have no reason not to. So
There's no
this has
reason. It's
been
complimentary. If you don't, even if you don't do anything with the information, at least you know where you got to go. But there's no way you can see that and not do something with it. But that's the first step. And mind you, if you go to some of the brokerage houses out here, first of all, they have a ceiling. You can't even get in their doors unless you have a certain net worth, a certain
yep.
amount of liquid cash. I don't have any prerequisites. If
And it's
you want
normally in the
help, I'm
six
going to
figures.
help you. It's absolutely, not normally, it's absolutely in the six figures. Yeah, try going to your bank saying, "Yeah, I want to sit down and do." They're going to say, "Let's look at your account.
Mm.
Let's see what you have in your savings. What is your net worth?" If you don't have it, they're going to politely show you the door until you build it up to be able to have a conversation with them. That's
And
not the case with me.
there will be no mention of how much they made off of your money either.
Absolutely not. None whatsoever.
They made six figures off of your money alone. But anyway, that's
Anyway, it's
again,
another
that's
conversation.
another
Absolutely.
that's another episode.
Yes.
But thank
Banks
you,
are a place
LaShonda.
to banks are a place to store wealth, but you definitely can't build it there. So come
Right,
see me.
right. But
And
thank you again,
congratulations
LaShonda.
on your book.
Thank you.
So I'll be getting a copy, some copies, to give to some of my clients, actually.
Awesome.
And
Awesome.
so, yeah, I think it's a wonderful tool. It goes hand in what I do. And I'm looking
I
forward to
will
doing more collaborating with you.
again thank you, LaShonda, for
Thank
accepting
you for
the
having
invitation.
me. Thank you for
And
having me.
guys, this has been another Credit Chats. I hope you wrote down all the notes and you're gonna act on them and you're gonna call her because
Absolutely.
it's available for you. So make some action on this. We'll see you next time.